Hello everyone, welcome to the Redmen TV. It is the Originals Podcast. You've joined us right in the middle of an interesting sporting debate, a heated sporting debate that's got nothing to do with football. Dan, as you might know, is a ardent cricket player and ardent cricket fan. Me and Chloe like a bit of the NFL. We were talking about the length of the game and the interest of said game. It's a bit interesting though to me because I think we're actually both wrong. Like, they're both too long.
Oh, yeah.
No, yeah, cricket's
long,
yeah, but it's still better. Still better.
I cannot do cricket, and one of the main reasons I can't do cricket is the best players aren't there for the fucking club games for most of the season.
No, they're usually on international duty and
which
stuff like
just
that, yeah.
makes me think, what's the point of
Well,
having a league team?
there is no season in cricket anymore. It's year round, year long. Because obviously, it's played all across the world. So when it's not our summer, it's summer in Australia. So they have zero off season now.
That's bad, that.
It's terrible. But the worst thing about the NFL is that they call themselves world champions. When
Yes, yes.
That is the stupidest thing.
And that's across all American sports, by the way. Yeah,
this isn't true.
No,
you are not
not
the world champions. You won
can't
the
be.
American League. Well done.
And there's only one thing to win.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Crap.
No, they don't have a secondary trophy in
No.
NFL. I thought there'd be something on the
Their
side.
secondary trophy is like the best of the divisions facing each other in a little friendly.
No promotion and relegation is
Yeah.
enough of a conversation for me to have in the American sports.
But at least all the good players are there for the league season.
That's true. Unless everyone does ACLs.
Oh, they're not
which it
injured
feels
like
being
99%
doing
of the
it.
time.
There are a lot of injuries. There are a lot of injuries. Anyway, we're here to talk about football. We're here to talk about the American dream, or Tom Werner's American dream anyway, and to do a Red Euro preview. Before we get into it, we just have to send our love and thoughts and prayers and everything to Alan Hansen and his family. Obviously, Alan Hansen is seriously ill at the moment. We've heard that he's obviously in hospital. I don't know about you guys, but he was the centre-back for me growing up. Until Virgil van Dijk came along, he was the man. He was how you are supposed to play centre-back. So 68 years old, he's far too young, obviously, for what he's going through, and we just wish him all the best and a speedy recovery and stuff. There's no nice way of segueing into Tom Werner's American dream from that, so I won't. I'll just go straight into it. Tom Werner, Chloe, is determined to have a Premier League game played in the USA, and it turns out all over the globe on the same day. Thoughts?
It's you know, he only just had me on board, and now I feel like I just want to lob him out of the club. It's just, I can't be arsed with this chat again. Look, we've just mentioned how I think NFL's better than cricket, and now I'm about to go into every reason why NFL and American football is absolutely horrific. Lad, we play over the year. First of all, the fan culture is so different. Like, the clubs are based on the history of the fans around them, of where they are based, specifically the northern teams. Then on to the fact that we actually do have relegation and promotion. Well, promotion in other divisions, but you win the title, there's relegation, there's promotion, and we play teams twice. We played them home and we played them away. And if I lost the league because you'd played fucking Manchester City v Liverpool in a different place instead of Anfield, I would be livid. Let's not do that, please. The soul of this football club is the fans who go to the games. It's the ones who create the atmosphere. Liverpool is sold based on Anfield and the atmosphere that Anfield creates. You move it to a different place, and you're just not going to get that. And I totally get that there is world fans, and I love that. That's what makes our club special. It's what gives us the amount of money that we have. But we have pre-seasons for a reason, where we go on tour and opportunities are given to all different fans, all different countries. I just think moving actual competitive games out of where, you know, your home and your league system, your home and your away form is, it's just absolutely mental. We played 50 something competitive games. Competitive. There was different competitions, but every one of them had a trophy at the end that you could potentially win. There wasn't just one trophy, one league, one system. Honestly, I'm sick and tired of it. And if that ever happens, that's the day I fall out of love with football.
Thankfully, John W. Henry said it's not something that he's advocating for or is interested in. But it is interesting that you've got two owners, essentially, with completely different viewpoints, and that is a kind of concern for me, because there'll be a lot of people thinking the same way as Werner.
Yeah, they will, 100% they will. Yeah, I mean, I suppose they're covering all bases, aren't they, from an FSG standpoint in doing that? They can't really lose, because if they're testing the water and see how those particular comments went down, they had the scope of John Henry's comments to say, oh, we're not that interested in it really, you know what I mean? So they've kind of covered the back there. I made a comment a moment ago about sort of the commercialisation of American sports, and therefore it shouldn't be a huge surprise that an American-centric based group will be looking into the possibility of something like this, because it's been muted seemingly for a long time. I remember sort of maybe even over a decade ago when the idea of a 39th game, as it once was sort of first muted. So it's not a huge shock. This seems to come around, much like the European Super League comes around in sort of like a 4-year cycle, it feels like almost, doesn't it? I'm with Chloe though. I'm certainly not for it, and I was pleased to see sort of the fallout and the immediate pushback to the idea, because it's not something we should ever advocate for, not just as Liverpool fans but as football fans in general for me. And one of my biggest sort of gripes with it is not only the fact that it obviously takes away the home element and the home support and obviously the fans that go week in week out up and down the country, it's the fact that from an actual sort of competitive standpoint, from how the league looks, you can't do one game. You'd have to do two, because Chloe loosely made the point that the fact if you play anyone, whether it be Manchester City or Crystal Palace or any other Premier League club, you play them in your home game in inverted commas, but that's out in Philadelphia or wherever it may be, and the away game isn't the same. It doesn't make any sense. The whole competitive nature of the league has been turned upon its head. So even from the very basics of how our Premier League works, it doesn't make sense. It was a non-starter.
Yeah, and the difference there, Lewis, to American sports is you don't play everyone home and away.
Yeah.
Because there are too many teams for that. So you will play a few of the teams and you'll play your division rivals, obviously multiple times and stuff, but they're the teams that are kind of closest to you around the country. You might only go and play the Miami Dolphins if you're West Coast side once. So you can understand them, probably make peace with it a little more. But when you play, let's say Liverpool, Manchester City, and you play them home and you play them away, you can't be losing a game like that, can you?
And you've got to think as well, they might start off with us playing Sheffield United, say they were still in the division. That'd probably be like the first test one. Say it does sales, say people go to the match, they're going to push for the big games. They're going to push for Liverpool, Man United in the States, Liverpool, Man City in the States. At that point then, key matches of the season are being taken away from the grounds that they should be competed in and put in a different country where they're not going to understand what it means exactly. They're not from the area who are born and bred around that stadium. They're going to try and take the big matches that the fans who have been going to Anfield for years and season ticket holders and people whose kids have been going to it and like their granddads and stuff, they're not going to get the chance to go to these title deciding matches because they're in a place where you're going to have to pay to try and get over there. You're going to have to pay for accommodation. You're doing, how long does it take to get to America? Like 12 hours, something daft like that. It's such an inconvenience to have to travel all the way to a different country for people who have been paying their whole life to go to Anfield to watch these big games and having the opportunity to take them from them. It makes sense on a business standpoint for them, for the owners, to say there's a market here. Liverpool's got a big fan base all over the world, but it doesn't make sense in the fact that you're losing the people who have been raised around this football club, and it's such an inconvenience for them. Like you said, that's why we have these pre-season tours. That's when the market gets expanded, because that's the time to do it. Die-hard fans will still make that trip, but midweek game on a Wednesday night, people have jobs, people have lives. How are they going to get over and experience it? And after the whole Super League issue, I think that's why John Henry has sort of went, I don't like this, because he's seen that there's power in the fans. He's seen that if we don't want something to happen, it won't happen. So I think that's why he's probably went, it's not for me.
I agree with you about that. I think that's exactly the reason that John W. Henry has said, I'm not interested in this, because he saw it last time, didn't he? Yeah. You know, the European Super League, he came out, he was, you know, you can respect the fact that he's come out and said, I was wrong to do this. It'd be nicer if he didn't have to do that, and he thought about the ramifications before he proceeded to put Liverpool into a European Super League. But at least it feels like there's something that he's learned there. One thing I am just going to push back on though, Lewis, because I do think it's important, I have seen the understanding that fans from other places have, and there is no right just because you are from a city that says you know more about and understand more about a team because you're from a city. Like, I've been over to America a couple of times. I've been all around the world and seen fans from all around the world. Their understanding is exactly the same because they buy into it and they throw themselves into it. And even on an American sports side of things, no one wants to listen to an English person talk about American sports, but I can watch just as much, and I've been watching since 1998. So you might be 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I've watched more than you. Yeah. You know what I mean? The difference is I've never played the game, and that there will be an understanding that I don't have because of that, of course. But anyway, yeah, to move it on then, Chloe, there is going to be a huge backlash from supporters. Do you think a game will ever be played in America, for example, a Premier League game?
Yeah, there will become a point because money talks, and you know, the more we lose the support for the likes of Spirit of Shankly, and those kind of you know, groups, the more likely there is that there won't be as much backlash or as much force to stop owners just doing what they want to football clubs, because even though it's a football club to us and it means everything, to them it's a business point of view, and that's what it is, sadly. It's no longer the love for the game, it is the love for how much money you can make. So yeah, I think it will be, and one thing leads to another. It might not start, look, this is just an idea now, but it might start with something else that keeps increasing, and then eventually it's too late before you realise that actually too much damage is being done and you can't pull back what the owners might take from you. What I will say is it's just, like, I totally get it from a business point of view because of the eyes and the amount of money it'll bring to it. But I'm pretty sure I read that in his statement he said he wants to bring 30,000 Liverpool fans over there, and it's like, well, why? Because we are the same people. Like, you're then not expanding it to more people. You're just bringing us there, and you're saying we're going to make it cheaper, and you're bringing, and it's because they know the soul of the football club is there, because they're the ones who, like you mentioned there, have been going for years on end, but more it's the culture of living in the city around the club. And I just thought that was mad. Like, if you're going to do it there, you might as well just open it up to absolutely everyone who lives in that state. That's what made more sense to me. Bringing 30,000 Liverpool fans over there, you're just lowering the amount of eyes on it, I guess. But yeah, look, it will happen eventually, I think, and when it does, that's when I'll be done with football, because for me, I'd hate that. Liverpool play 3 games a week. You don't like it, but Liverpool play 3 games a week. If, you know, you're travelling in a Champions League game on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then you're over in America on a Saturday or a Sunday, it's already
that's
too much.
That's the other thing that they can't do as well, and again, they do that in America. When they come to when they bring NFL games to the UK, or Wembley, be it Twickenham, be it Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, whatever, Dan, they build them some time into the schedule. There is no time in the Premier League schedule. You can build that into a 17-game regular season over the course of a year, but when you've got 38 games and all the cup games and everything else, there's just no time to go, you have a week off around these lads.
No, it'd only be feasible, really, and even then, not necessarily sort of post or pre-international break, it feels like, doesn't it? And I'm not entirely sure how that works either, but that's the only time there is some sort of travelling factored into these player schedules. But you have to be spot on ultimately. I kind of see it slightly different way, and I think it is quite smart, and you might be right, both in terms of why John Henry distanced himself from it, and I think it is quite a shrewd move from him, to be honest with you. But ultimately, it's down to the Premier League. You know, Liverpool's chairman can say whatever he likes, and so on and so forth when it comes to the other chairman across the Premier League. But ultimately, it's a Premier League decision. I honestly believe that losing that competitive edge will be the straw that broke the camel's back when it comes to some people's view on football and stuff like that. But I actually don't see a Premier League game moving over there in the near future, to be honest with you. I think we're quite a few years away from that, if it ever does happen, actually. I think it's more likely like Community Shield goes over there. And I think perhaps even something like the Carabao Cup final, maybe at one point. I'm not in love with that idea myself, but I think a curtain raiser like the Community Shield could definitely end up over in the States.
Maybe because obviously if we go to a pre-season tour in America, they could try and organise that the first game of the season is played in that country. Like, you're over there anyway. Sort of just, but you'd have to,
again, I come back to what I said, you'd have to have the second fixture of the same round there as well, because otherwise the league's up in the air.
Also, in America, America's absolutely huge. What people maybe don't think of as our away days, it's like 6 hours on a coach to London, like 5-6 hours on a coach. So yeah, that's quite bad. But in comparison to having to get flights around the entirety of America, depending on where your team's playing, you know, there's a lot more travel involved in that, where us fans, yeah, we go to European aways, but it's in Europe once again. A lot of them can be, you know, a fair amount away, and you might have to get a couple of planes to get there because there's some mad places. But on a week-to-week basis, the furthest Liverpool go is, oh, you know what? We'll probably get a 2-hour flight here or an hour flight here, because that's just what they do instead of us fans who drive. So instead it being like a 10-hour plane journey, you got to adjust to the time difference, then you've got to play a game, then you're back and you're playing 2 days later. There's a lot. It just doesn't make any sense,
does it? And the Carabao thing's not the Premier League.
No.
So do the Premier League want to go? Because you've got to take a Premier League game, really, haven't you? You know what I mean? I'm not sure who owns the Charity Shield. It would feel like more of an FA thing.
Yeah. Well, the same could be said for the Carabao Cup. You know, that's when if you get sponsors on board. At the moment, it's Carabao. Obviously, it's had many different guises and iterations down the years. So if they were to suddenly get on board with, you know, the competition, it'd be the EFL, wouldn't it, in this case? And they come together and they were in coots and they decided that the final was going to be a showpiece event in New York, for argument's sake. Then there's definitely a world whereby that could happen. That's why I'm actually further away from believing that a Premier League game could become a thing, because there are so many roadblocks and problems with this, whereas a one-off game, a standalone final, whether it be the Community Shield, Carabao Cup, even at a stretch the FA Cup, I think that's much more likely. And also, actually, having said all of that, I don't think it's out the realms of possibility that something as crazy as a Champions League final goes over there, because obviously that would no longer be in Europe, so clearly makes no sense on one hand, but from a commercial point of view, it makes a hell of a lot of sense.
No, it does. The Champions League final would be the biggest fucking thing, wouldn't it? Because, you know, you got the Super Bowl, you got the Champions League final, World Cup final. These are the types of games that are seen as more than just Europe.
Well, didn't Madrid and Man United have like a pre-season game? There was like 107,000 people fitting in that stadium. Like, that's what I mean. Like, there's an audience.
The MCG years ago, didn't we? 100,000. So it could happen in terms of the numbers. Absolutely,
And in terms, like, we've had 100,000 in the big house, haven't we, in Michigan? Like, you know, it's there, isn't it? And this is the thing, and I think a lot of this comes back to, like, some of the other bigger sports and stuff like that. Obviously, golf is going through its own internal crisis at the moment. Live Golf and the PGA Tour and all that type of stuff. And, you know, you've got Formula One that's been bought by Liberty, I think it was, bought them a few years ago. Huge growth off the back of this Netflix series, and the growth is in America.
Boxing as well.
And now, he's got boxing in Riyadh and all that type of stuff. Sport is more than just, unfortunately, where it is nowadays. Sport is global because we live in the age of globalization. Everything is within reach. Everything can be somewhere and people can come and see it or whatever. But we will have a problem where the Premier League's saturated in this country. Where do you grow it? Where are your television rights money coming from? It's coming from all over the world. You have to satisfy those fans at some point. Now, Lewis, I don't think putting a Premier League game over there will really satisfy them, because how do you, and who benefits in the Premier League? Like you mentioned Sheffield United, they're going to get more fans.
Yeah.
Are they going to get more fans, or Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United going to get more fans?
Well, that's what I was saying before. Like, they're going to push for the big games to go over there because that's where the money is. And like you said, money talks. He wouldn't have said this if there wasn't some sort of plan about it. He wouldn't have just thrown it out there for the sake of saying it. It just doesn't make sense logistically. The schedule, like I said, there's more Champions League games now than every 2 seasons. You've got a World Cup, a Euros, some players have Copa America. It just, in a schedule where players like, I think it was Pedri a few seasons ago, played like 70 games, it doesn't make sense to fit it in where they have to travel to this different country. And like you said before, we've got no divine right to this team just because of where we're from. But for the people who are having to do it, for the teams that are having to be involved, and the players who are having to make that effort and travel when they already spend so much of their lives away, you have to go to a million different countries a season if you're in Europe. It's just an extra hurdle that they have to go through, and business sense, it would probably make sense, but like you said, the Champions League final would make more sense. It's a neutral ground anyway. Who loses a home game this season, whatever it's a team that are battling relegation, they've got to make this trip over there, and not having that home field advantage, like say at Goodison Park and Everton, which they utilise, they're going to lose that extra effect. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense from the side point of trying to make sure that the players are protected, to make sure that they're not too exhausted. And it's just a lot of money in an age where people are struggling to do things as is. Expecting people to take flights over to America when there are people struggling, it just seems like a bit of a poor decision to do.
There's a great comment here though from JD. Imagine if it's Liverpool City in the FA Cup final, it's not kicking off until 1 a.m. because it's in Boston. I mean, that would be, my word, I mean, it's just ridiculous, isn't it?
I mean, a lot of these countries do that for us. A lot of the fans, you know, Australia, all of them, they wake up at ridiculous times to watch Liverpool play. Totally get that. And the other way round, it'd be us waiting early hours. But it's just mad how, like, I agree with you. I think one of the big finals will end up being in the likes of America. And it's just, I just hate to be eligible for a ballot or whatever to get there, because I've been to so many games, but then being priced out of it because it's in the likes of America or somewhere like that. But you know, I do think eventually there will get to a point where money just is too much, and that's what we do. But once again, the pre-season stuff is there for a reason, and it's clear, like, it gains
and
loads of attention.
now, apparently.
Yeah. It gains loads of attention, and you do have, look, at times you don't have your best players because of the likes of the Euros and things, where if England were to get to a final, Trent doesn't come back till extremely late into that pre-season. But at the same time, for the majority of it, you get to see the youngsters, which right now is actually really posh to see, but you do get to still see your Darwin Núñez's, you Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk. You still see all of these boss players. It might not be the highest level of football, totally get that, but it's just unfortunate that Liverpool is in Liverpool, and like, some people are born there and some people are not. Like, it's really crap. It really is. And I don't have anything against worldwide fans. Like, you are the reason that we are so big, that we get to spend so much money, because the more fans, the more money, the more revenue that come into Liverpool Football Club. For me, it just, if a game moved out of even Europe, like, it's a European competition, I want it to be in Europe. Like, the
final wouldn't matter too much.
I'd still like it to be, though.
I don't think when it come round to it, if Liverpool win a Champions League final, I don't think it would matter to you if it was in Athens or Philadelphia. I genuinely don't.
I mean, no, because
some places
anyway,
are easier to get to in America for a European final. I mean, Kiev was dead hard to get to.
5 planes.
As a perfect example, like, it was incredibly difficult.
You
It
could
would
be
have been easier to get to New York.
But you could be anywhere, couldn't you? Is what I'm
Is that
trying
not the
to
best
say.
day of your life? Because that was the best day of my life, and we lost it.
But that's not because you were still in Europe.
No,
You know
but it was
what I mean?
the place. It was the place that you went to. Like, when would I ever end up at Kiev in my life?
But the same could be said for somewhere in America, is what I'm trying to say.
That's why people got excited about the Europa League, because you can try all these new places that you wouldn't normally get to go to.
Listen, I'm not slagging off Europe a bit.
I think Dan's right.
No, I
It could have been anywhere.
You could be anywhere, couldn't you, and have a boss time. And the flip side of that, you could be anywhere and have crap time. It doesn't really matter where you are. I'm not a huge advocate. I haven't travelled to America at all. I've been across much more Europe, and I love it. But I'm trying to say that it doesn't really matter. Because a showpiece and neutral ground, as you say, you literally could be anywhere. I will say this, though. I think for Mike Gordon's dream that he clearly has about all of this, I think...
Werner.
As I say, Mike Gordon. Yeah. The perfect middle ground would be the Community Shield.
Yeah.
For me, because it's two Premier League clubs more often than not, albeit, you know, there could be a shock in the FA Cup the year prior. But I think that the Community Shield would be the ideal scenario for him, not the Premier League games.
Yeah. And I'd say, like, I attend the NFL games, have done. I went to the first NFL game, I think it was, in maybe, I can't remember what year it was. It was the Pats versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers or something. It was late noughties, I think. Late noughties, I think. I went there as a fan. I wore my Minnesota Vikings thing. It was great to see a competitive game, and it's great to go to these games and see 32 different shirts. But that's just weird. Like, it's not what the Premier League is about. You know, and I've been to see the Minnesota Vikings play the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I've seen them play the Cleveland Browns, because I'm fortunate. I'm a Vikings fan, and I've seen them twice, and it was brilliant getting to watch my team twice. I'd much prefer to go to America and do it. I can't afford it, but I went 2.5 hours down the road to watch them, and I'm going to go hopefully this season. We're going to go, aren't we, to go and see the Vikings. But like, what you've got to remember is the Premier League is a complete world difference away from what the American sports are.
Different animal.
It's
entirely.
it is completely different. I mean, they are franchises over in America, and I love American sports. But when you can have a team just move cities, that's fucking shit to me.
Yeah.
And my understanding of sport in this country, like, I don't think a Premier League game should ever be played over there. My pushback on you was the understanding, and I don't think you even meant it like that anyway.
No, yeah.
And I think that's fair to say.
There's no jeopardy either, there's no jeopardy in American sports because there's no relegation. So the cost, as you were referring to earlier about home advantage and stuff like that, if you're down the bottom of the Premier League fighting for your life and you've got to go and play a game over in America and you lose the home advantage because of it, that's really damaging. Like, that could be crippling to your entire season. That doesn't exist in American sports. So if a team sort of circling the plug hole at the bottom of the NFL or whatever it may be has to come over here and play a game in Wembley, they get beat, so what? If anything, getting beat at that point, my understanding is actually better for you because you're going to get a better draft pick anyway.
Yeah.
So it's by the by. Whereas the Premier League is, again, a completely different animal.
And the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have a home game here every year. They were the first side to sign up to have a home game in London.
Right.
Now, he owns Fulham, the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
They can't still.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So he decided he wanted to be there. They have so many more fans in and around Europe now because they've committed to that. They're still shit. No, they're actually much better than they were.
They're still not great.
But like, it's because your home market's not very good.
Yeah.
Like, the Green Bay Packers were the last team to come over from the NFL. They are the most fan-owned NFL organisation. And they just didn't want to fucking do it because their fans didn't want to do it. And imagine, to any American fan watching this, all 20 of the teams are basically the Green Bay Packers. None of them want to give up a home game. Not a single one. At some point, the league can say something and the owners can say something, but it's the fans that make the league.
And it's totally, this is the other thing. I love NFL. And I look at their stadiums and it's mad because you'll find pockets of red right next to it. So Chiefs v Ravens is the first game, and yeah, look, divisions, everything like that, but they'll sit next to each other. In the UK, it can be Sheffield United and Liverpool, and we've got nothing against them, but you would not find us sitting next to each other. You'd find us in the away end with police around us because
American
that's what every away game is like. And it's a different culture with fan base. It just is, and that doesn't mean it's any better. But what it does mean is some things that are normal in an NFL game in terms of fan bases and just chilling and having a chat with each other, and they're not being. I mean, do you remember when we went to Kiev and you could just walk around the entire stadium and someone went to me, imagine if Roma fans would have got to this, by the way, like, we'd have been in trouble. And it's like that is what it's like to be a football fan. You can't have contact. The banter is sometimes not banter. They take it far too far. And I just, when I think of American fans, I think of it all a little bit more mellow, have a little bit of a laugh, you know, and I like that. I like that for NFL. I like that, but for football,
well,
absolutely not.
It's because, for me anyway, I only talk about myself, NFL is a TV programme for the most part. Football is something I experience and have experienced my entire life. So going to see a TV programme was great, but I don't feel the same way about it because you haven't got that raw emotion of being there and being sucked up into these chants and stuff. I love, like everyone here, I really like football, obviously. I went to a fucking MLS game, shittest sporting experience of my life. Like, the worst. Went to see Vancouver Whitecaps against Seattle
Sounders.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, cool. Didn't even remember, right? It was pissing down in Vancouver, and we were in a cab, and we're going, shit, you need to hurry up. We're going to miss kick-off. We went, doesn't kick off at 3 o'clock. What do you mean it doesn't kick off at 3 o'clock? Half an hour late. What do you mean it says it's 3 o'clock kick-off? They got no respect for kick-off times. It was 3:45 because we had to sit through the Canadian national anthem because we were in Canada, and because it was the MLS and American national anthem before we got into a game. Then there was fucking adverts playing in the stadium while the game was going on with sound while they dim the lights, right? And I'm like, no, after 20 minutes, and there will be 250 Liverpool fans, you'll know this, I was held back because I was trying to leave the ground. because they had no respect for what was being in front. And in the end, I started a Bobby Firmino chant, and the 250 of us sang Liverpool songs for fucking half an hour, while the Vancouver Whitecaps fans were doing some mad, like, fucking choreographed dance. Like, we're turning around and all kinds of stuff. It was fucking shit. Not for me. I don't want Liverpool to be that.
No.
I want Liverpool to be how it is now, but better, if possible.
Football shouldn't become like an advert. It shouldn't be a sort of something to break up your ad breaks. And, like, American fans say it themselves, like, when they go on about British football or English football even, they say fans are crazy. Like, you know, people get into fights, people do this and do that. Football over here is very tribal compared to American football. I just don't know if it translate over there. Like, it's brilliant that people want to come see it. It's brilliant that people will pay to go see it. But like you said, the atmosphere is going to be completely different. It might not have that same impact, and that can impact teams' performances on the pitch, which can have a detrimental effect on their season. So in terms of money, it probably does make sense. But in terms of that, that's something that you can't buy. You can't buy atmosphere as much as teams like to try. I just don't think that would translate well over to that audience where you feel that way about the MLS, like you don't get the feeling for it, but there might be a few fans there who do because they've like experienced it a lot. That's what I mean. To the people who support the club when it comes over there, are they going to have that same impact as it would at Anfield? Are they going to get sucked into it the way that you would, for example? I just don't think it's going to carry over in the same way that the owners might think it might.
And this all comes back to the independent regulator stuff, because it seems fucking bizarre. Like, and an independent regulator, I don't think would allow that. And just want to quickly respond to Cool, who says, watch Silver Linings Playbook, NFL's not a TV show, fans are real too. No, I agree. What I said was, it's a fucking TV show to me, because that's how I've always consumed it. Like, listen, I've seen the Kansas City Chiefs fans, and they are the closest probably to football fans, I think. The same with the Steelers fans and the terrible towels and all that type of stuff. They're the closest. Each franchise is different. It's a TV show to me because it's how I've always consumed it. Let's move on. We've got a short break, and then we'll be coming back to talk about the Liverpool players in the Euros.
Hey, how would you like to get your hands on this? A shirt signed by one of the greatest Liverpool players of all time, a certain John Barnes. Yes, this 1992 special centenary year Liverpool home shirt will go to one of our Redmen Plus Legend subscribers at the end of June. If you want to be in the draw to win this shirt, simply go to redmenplus.com, join up as a Legend subscriber, and you'll be in the hat. If you're already one of our Captain subscribers, upgrade your account to Legend status, get all the added perks, and be in the draw to win this amazing shirt signed by none other than Mr. John Barnes.
Okay, welcome back. Get yourself into the competition by signing up as a club legend on redmenplus.com. Sorry, I'm struggling massively today. I went on
why is that, mate?
I went on a stag weekend at the weekend, and I am dead. We're going to talk about the Euros. Honestly, don't do it to yourselves. I'm too old for stag weekends. Euros preview. Liverpool have 10 players at the Euros. Robbo is set to captain Scotland. Huge honour. Obviously,
have you not seen what happened
he's
this
fine.
morning?
Limped out of trading.
Is he fine?
Limped out of trading, but it was precautionary.
Thank God. I say thank God. I need him back. So.
Do you? I mean, it would be an incredible honour to captain your country at one of these things, wouldn't it? Like, it would be just superb. But again, the Liverpool fan in me is just like, I just don't want him to get injured ever, mate. It's horrible.
Yeah, I don't care who wins this competition. As always, I don't care for international footy. I will watch every single game. Look, when the Euros and the World Cup come about, I really do enjoy them. The reason why is because there's 3 games a day, and I just love football. So I love everything about the competitions. But in terms of Liverpool players, I just need all of you to come back healthy, fit, ready to go again for the start of the season. Because the quicker you get back, the quicker you're working with Arne Slot, which hopefully means that we've got more of a basis and a foundation to go into the season with. But yeah, like I mentioned, I don't care who wins. I'll be supporting individual players, the likes of Virgil. But yeah, it's one of them where I'll watch and just pray that no one gets injured from our end.
Yeah. How do you reckon Scotland will do then?
Ooh, they kick off the tournament, don't they? They play host Germany, of course. Yeah, interesting one. Their chances of getting out of the group, which I think I might say be the first time they ever managed that in a major tournament as well, took a bit of a blow. They've lost a couple of players in the last week or so, a couple of big players too, including our very own Ben Doak, which was a shame for him, of course. I think if they were to get out of the group, that would be a hell of an achievement. I can't see it. Personally, there's
the group is Germany, Scotland, Hungary, Switzerland.
That is a difficult group. Yeah. To be honest with you, and I hate to say this because of Andy Robertson, really, and I really like Scotland, but not finishing bottom of that group might be something, because that's hard. That's a tough old group there. Yeah.
Okay, Lewis. Dom Szoboszlai, Hungary's captain, isn't he normally?
Yeah.
And their talisman. Not the greatest end to the season for him. What's this? Is this about getting your confidence back, or is this about doing something? Because they're a bit of a dark horse, I think, Hungary in this competition.
They can do something. Like, there's always, every tournament, there's always a team who, you know, Switzerland, I think it was in 2016 in the Euros, they were a bit of a dark horse, did really well. Wales, of course. I just think Szoboszlai's biggest problem towards the end of last season is he looked fucked. Like, he ran himself into the ground. I get excited to see our players play under a different manager. Like, when Nunez goes away for Uruguay, I get excited to see what he can do. I'm curious to see how Szoboszlai would operate in the system. I want to know, is he going to be box to box? Is he just going to be very attack minded? He needs to get that momentum going. He needs to come into the new system. And I think this competition is a good chance for our lads to show Slot what they can do, even though he's not there with them. If Szoboszlai drags that team out of the group, puts on some incredible performances, Slot might be looking at that and going, you know, I can't drop you. You're going to be my number 10, or you might be a key part in this squad. All those lads have got something to prove, and Szoboszlai leading his country a Euros competition in the same group as Scotland and Germany. Yeah. That's a big. If you can get a man of the match performance against Germany, you can drag your team out of that group, which is one of the toughest ones. You know, you're setting yourself in good stead going into the new season.
Okay. Anyone think Szoboszlai will turn his form around?
He loves playing for Hungary. He does even when he was playing for Liverpool and he wasn't reaching the heights that he'd set in the first half of the season. As soon as he'd go away to Hungary, it was like he was a different player. He very much is their captain, their talisman. Everything good comes from him. He puts the international team on his back, and also you can see it in the way he celebrated. He was a massive part in getting them into the Euros. I think they were one of the first teams to qualify, maybe. So yeah, I expect him to do quite well. For Hungary, I expect him to be a little bit of a dark horse, and I think he has the ability, and that team has the ability to just sneak through that group. But yeah, he's a much better player when he plays for Hungary, or at least that's what I saw last season.
Is he a 10 for them? Yeah. Where's he play?
He plays right wing sometimes.
Plays right wing predominantly, to be honest. Yeah.
But maybe that's why he's better. He's more advanced than what we ask him to do. But yeah, he's a very, very good player for that Hungary side. The
big one, Dan, is Trent Gomez called up for England. Trent's been given the number 8 shirt. Yes, is he about to announce himself as a centre midfielder before Liverpool season?
Possibly. I still don't sort of put it as cast iron if he plays in the 8 and plays well for England, that therefore he's going to be that for Liverpool, because England don't have the same depth of midfielders that Liverpool possess right now. Arne Slot plays in a different way stylistically than what Gareth Southgate will play. So yeah, I'm not entirely sure that's the case. He does himself and his cause, if that indeed that is what he wants to be for Liverpool, a midfielder, he does himself a hell of a lot of favours if he has a stellar tournament in that position. Of course he does. There's no two ways about it. I think it's interesting to me. I don't really understand why they actually release all the squad numbers prior to the tournament, because you're basically giving away your starting 11 for the first game. I mean, it's not set in stone that you have to name that 1 to 11, but it pretty much is that, isn't it? Yeah, he's often done this 8 stuff for England, a little bit double pivoty as well at times, so that's an interesting one. I'm intrigued, you mentioned it a moment ago, Lewis, about seeing players under different managers rather than in different systems and different styles. I want to see more Trent in midfield, because I've got my reservations about it, if truth be told. I think he possesses a lot of the skill set that's required to be able to do it, and we spoke to Guy McAllister recently about it, and even he said something similar. He's got loads and loads of attributes, loads of qualities that will lend themselves to being one of the best midfielders in the world. However, when you are in there and the speed of the game is ramped up that little bit more, you don't quite see everything in front of you in the same way, it can become a little bit more tricky. And I think there'll be certain games, perhaps even in this tournament for Trent, whereby it is quite straightforward. It can be quite easy for him because international football at times is played at a walking pace a little bit. So when he has time to get his foot on the ball and look up, away we go. But then when you go into the last stages of competition against your Frances this world, perhaps your Germanys, and everything just sped up a little bit, it might become trickier. But yeah, to round off, there's no two ways about it. If he has an absolute incredible tournament and takes England to the final, even to win the thing, then the arguments in the round not playing Trent in midfield become more and more difficult to have, really, don't they?
It's funny though, isn't it? Because the way that the England media works, Lewis, if he doesn't play well, he's going to get handed to right back again.
Yeah. Well, look at Maino in the Iceland game. He got absolutely slated for that performance when no one performed particularly well. And I like Trent in midfield. I think he looks good, but I'm more of the sort of feel that I love to see Trent as right back because I think he offers something that no one else can in that. Bradley's good, but Trent's a generational passer. What he can do on that right side is ridiculous. And as much as I would like to see the evolution of him, I would like to see him go into midfield. You know, I feel like it's very much a don't fix what ain't broken kind of thing. He might not be the best defender. He might not be the most, versatile in terms of defensive actions. But what he offers you from a right back position, overlapping and coming inverted, he's second to none. And I think Arne Slot, who loves fullbacks, who likes his players out wide, Trent would be such a beneficiary of it that as much as we would like to see him go into that number 8 or number 6 role, I just don't think changing him from his strongest position is the way to go, personally.
Do you think it's just Southgate trying to get him on the pitch? Because I get that. I get that, by the way.
I think when you look at the defenders that they're taking, I'll go through them now on the screen. Lewis Dunk, Joe Gomez, Mark Gay, Ezri Konsa, Luke Shaw, John Stones, Kieran Trippier, Kyle Walker. The centre-backs is the problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're the problem positions. Yeah. And if the heart of your defence you're worried about, I don't think you can play Trent as a right-back with them.
And also, as much as I don't like him, nor like saying it, Kyle Walker is an exceptional right-back. Yeah. So, he has to start a right-back, doesn't he? As brilliant as Trent is, Kyle Walker, all the pace he possesses and all that sort of stuff. So, therefore, he has to be a right-back. Trent, you said it there, generational talent, has to be on the footy pitch in some capacity. Why not do it in midfield?
Yeah. The other thing was, I'm pretty sure I watched the 2 games that they did play. I think Trent started in midfield once, and then he got moved to right back. And when he got moved to right back, he got a goal. I think Jack Grealish set him up. It was a lovely finish from a right back. And then in the second game, he came on with maybe 25 minutes to go, something like that. And he created the most chances on the pitch for England in that amount of time when he was playing at right back as well. I think it's good that they've got some versatility in him, but you name that midfield 3, Declan Rice, Jude Bellingham, Trent Alexander-Arnold, and you sit there and you're thinking, my God, what a midfield 3. You kind of hope that they've got the balance right there, but there is no one in England's team who can pass a ball like Trent Alexander-Arnold. You have to get him on that pitch because they've got one of the most potent strikers in Premier League history up top. You've obviously got Jude Bellingham, who loves to arrive late in the box and be that extra man. And his link up with Saka and being able to switch it out to Foden. You've got to have someone like that on the pitch because he just offers something that no one else in that squad can.
The funny thing for me is I've picked an 11 that I think will start probably, or that I would start, I should say, for the first game. So mine is Pickford in goal. I don't particularly like it, but it's Pickford in goal. Walker, Stones, Gahey. I've gone Gomez, Trippier. I'd start Gomez. Can understand why Trippier will probably more likely start. Rice, Trent, Bellingham. Saka, Kane, Foden. Now, I do think I've picked... If I was Southgate, I would play a 4-2-3-1. I don't think he's going to. I would probably go with Rice... Bellingham as my pair of 6s.
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think it's the other way.
And Cole Palmer
ahead of them. So where's Trent?
Okay, not playing.
Not playing. I don't think in 4-2-3-1 he would. I think Rice and Bellingham have got that. That he can do it.
I think if you bring Trent on as well, he's capable of changing the whole way the team plays because he's so versatile. So if you do want more attack and threat, you can play him in midfield. If you do want someone out wide who can put options in, just put him there. he can be your game changer if things aren't going the way you want it to.
He's a bit of a break glass option to get that position here, but if he's on the pitch, you can still mess around with him a little bit.
Yeah.
I would be 4-2-3-1, but I've got Rice and Trent as a double pivot personally, with Bellingham just being ahead of him and doing his thing.
So where's Palmer? Is he off the left?
I've got Palmer on the right. I've not
right.
picked Saka in mine on there, and I've got Foden from the left.
Fair.
Who would you go with?
I'd be happy with that. I think Cole Palmer, with how he played in the friendlies, and they were just friendlies, I thought he did enough to see what he's about. He's absolutely phenomenal, is Cole Palmer. And also, if Cole Palmer runs people into the ground for 70 minutes and then you bring in on Saka, who's got the pace, whoever defender's up against him must think, my God, what do I have to do here? But yeah, they'll probably rotate. But yeah, Cole Palmer has to start, really.
The 4-2-3-1 seems like the best formation to play, Lewis, because you've got problems about your centre-halves.
Yeah, we need Southgate, to be fair to him, as boring as the football can be, he's very good at shutting up shop. And I think having two central midfielders is key for that. The centre-back options just aren't good. John Stones looked absolutely fucked in that last game against Iceland. He's been injured up for a large portion of the season towards the end. And then you've got Dunk, Konza. Like, is there a world to say that Joe Gomez could maybe start a centre-back if
he'd been playing centre-back, you'd think so. But if he...
I think Gahey's of a level in this conversation, personally. I think the other team... And Konza's been a right-back predominantly, hasn't he, this season as well. Likewise with Gomez at left-back, of course. I think the one glaring weakness outside the centre-halves, as mentioned, for this England side is definitely the left-back position. Albeit Joe Gomez had a brilliant season there for us and stuff like that. He was really impressive. There's no natural balance in that whatsoever. I think they'd have been better served, as much as I could not care less how they got on. I think they'd be better served picking a natural left back, albeit maybe a Tyreek Mitchell or someone of that ilk, but at least have an actual left back, not having people who could just do a job out there, which I think for a lot of all intents and purposes these guys are.
I think it's been injuries, because Shaw's been injured.
Oh, it'd be Shaw if he was fit, absolutely, but if they're not, therefore pick a left back.
And that's probably fine against, not your smaller teams, but your smaller teams, your smaller international clubs. But when you're up against France and they've just got so many weapons, having Kieran Trippier, who hasn't had the greatest of seasons, by the way, having him at left back out of position, at times just the loss of concentration, or maybe not being his natural position might cost you in a massive game like that.
It's probably more going forwards as well, isn't it? We've seen it at times at Liverpool not having that flying Andy Robertson go around the outside of people and get to the byline and stuff like that. England are going to lack that all tournament long by the looks of it.
It's probably what Southgate wants. He wants his 10 men behind the ball, doesn't he, to be fair to him. Holland then, or the Netherlands, sorry I should say. Van Dijk, Gakpo and Gravenberch. Van Dijk could lift a major international trophy. Would be nice to see. Do you think I must admit, I'm quite excited to see this one. I'm quite excited to see what the Netherlands do, Lewis. I mean, their squad, I think, by comparison to some of the others, is a little bit more ageing than some of the other squads. But Van Dijk, Gakpo and Gravenberch have all got a shot at playing games.
Yeah, definitely. Van Dijk, I mean, he's definitely going to start Van Dijk. Gakpo, I'm curious to see how he uses him, because obviously there's the big debate for us: is he a winger? Is he a centre forward? Is he a striker? Like, what's the best thing to do with him? So I like seeing what another manager can do with him. Like we saw in the World Cup, he was phenomenal the way he was playing in that. So if we can get Gakpo up to that, give him a bit of confidence going into the season, I'll be really excited. I think the Netherlands they have a few players who are like standoutish as being absolutely brilliant. It's the other little gaps that are sort of can let them down at points. They're definitely a dark horse. They can do it. They've got capable players in that squad. But this is going to have to be Van Dijk's going to have to really lead them by example, I think, in this tournament, the way he did for us in, say, the Carabao Cup. This is he's been at tournaments before, but now he's the captain for us. Now we're going into this new era. He needs to keep doing what he's been doing and step up once again and show that he's able to not only lead a club, but to lead his country. And there's no better stage to do it than on a European competition, say maybe the World Cup.
What about Gravenberch then?
I'm really excited for him, to be honest, because a lot of the time he wasn't called up. There was a lot of talk about him at the fact that, he tried to settle at Liverpool and find a house and get everything sorted and decided to not go away with the Netherlands, and then they kind of just froze him out completely. He's not had a great season. There have been some bright sparks, specifically at the beginning of his Liverpool career, in the likes of the Europa League. But yeah, I'm really, really happy for him because I was surprised when I saw his name because of the way they'd treated him for the past year. And yeah, it's another option. Look, I don't think the Netherlands will win the Euros. I just don't. Look, Jeremy Frimpong's absolutely brilliant. It's great that they've now got him. They've obviously got Gertrude, who we all know and have spoken about. But they do lack the likes of what France has and what Germany have, and even England. I mean, I look at their front line. It's Cody Gakpo, it's Memphis Depay, it's the lad from Marlon. That's him. Thank you. I look at that and I think it's not a Phil Foden, it's not a Bukayo Saka, it's not a Musiala, it's not a Kylian Mbappe. They do lack. Please tell me about Weghorst isn't going.
I imagine he's part of the squad.
Oh wow! They do lack.
His goal against Argentina.
Yeah, no. To be fair, that was incredible. They do lack that potent striker who I think they can rely on. And I know Cody Gakpo's going, but once again, I still think they missed that. They do have a nice balance of the midfield. Frankie de Jong is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, it gives Ryan Gravenberch a chance. You know, he can. I don't think he probably expected to get this, and now go and play freely. He's one of the youngest lads in their squad. He probably won't get as much time, but when he does, I assume it'll be a more, you know, you've got to go and try and get us back in the game, win the game. So let's see how he does. I'm excited for him, and I don't think there's a lot of weight on the Netherlands to win because I just don't see them on the level of the likes of Germany, England and France.
Okay. Dan, big centre-half for France, Ibrahima Konate. Looks like he might be starting.
Yeah.
Got some defenders there in old France as well, haven't they? I've got the list up now. Konate, Saliba, Koundé, Upamecano, Klaus, Pavard, Hernandez, Mendy. This squad is the best squad by a mile, I think, going into the Euros.
I think England are quite
close
to that.
Yeah, we had a debate about this the other day, didn't we, actually, funny enough. It's a very close run thing.
Yeah.
But yeah.
If they would have actually had the centre-backs who I'd have thought they'd have taken.
Yeah, I don't know how Maguire, but yeah. Konate, listen, there's no two ways about it. As much as I think we were all, in a roundabout way, relatively critical of him towards the back end of the season because his form just wasn't at it. It fell off a cliff, I was going to say, but that feels like a stretch. I mean, you can count his lucky stars to Joel Quantrill in French, can't he? Because otherwise he wouldn't be getting that starting berth potentially. But yeah, listen, it's mad to say that a lad who wasn't starting and was getting kept out the side by a youngster in Joel Quantrill with a relatively, lack of first-team football under his belt will be starting ahead of some of those names for France in the Euros. In the Euros that France are expected to go and win, really. So it speaks to me of just how brilliant a footballer he is, albeit again he didn't have the best season, a couple of niggling injuries along the way. Obviously his form wasn't quite where we'd like it to be. Certain games potentially in the season we've seen the very best of him, maybe not quite to the height of that Real Madrid final that we often speak about, but we shouldn't, and I probably been guilty of this as well, we shouldn't forget just how incredible Ibrahima Konate is, and there's a chance for him to go and show it. And he'll probably be chomping at the bit to do so. You mentioned how made up Gravenberch will be to be back in the fold in international status, and rightfully so. But Konate will know he ended the season poorly. He'll know he ended the season at the side as well. So he'll be desperate to go to this Euros and show exactly what he's all about again. And keeping those names at the side is one way, but actually playing well and keeping them at the side for the duration of the tournament and potentially winning the thing is a whole new story. So yeah, he is phenomenal. And on his day, he is one of the best centre-halves in the world for me because his ceiling is that high. Yeah.
Is he going to be fit for the whole tournament?
Probably not.
Please don't get injured.
That's the thing though, isn't it? That's unfortunate, but if a manager trusts in you, you've got to trust that you're going to be there every single week as well, which has been Konate's fault.
It can be quite, I think I'm right in saying it can be quite relentless. These tournaments, can't they? They can be sort of every not 2 days, that's a stretch, but 3-4 days at a certain point. So it's going to be a struggle for him. And we should have mentioned on Van Dijk before as well, sorry to just hark back to it, but he missed the Euros last time, I think I'm right in saying, didn't he? Because of the injury. Was it that big thing for him leading his side up for this one as well. Yeah.
Isn't it only his second major with Netherlands?
Yeah, the World Cup as well.
Yeah, he went to the World Cup.
Jaros is going to be the third choice for Czech Republic. We're going to spend any time on that. Diogo Jota is likely to be playing up front for Portugal from the left, which is interesting heading into this season as well.
Well, they're another one. They've got options. We've got Ronaldo's there, Bernardo Silva. I love watching Jota play so much. I just think he's unbelievable finishing wise. I know Jamie Carragher said he's the best finisher he's seen, which again might be a bit of a stretch, but I love watching them play. Portugal are another one who they could upset a lot of people. They've got a really good squad.
They could draw their way to the championship again.
Not like them, is it?
But I don't know. I just want Jota, as much as I'd love to see him smash it, as much as I'd love to see him be like the top scorer for their team, he shouldn't be pushing it. You know, he's been injured a lot this season, and there's a sort of thing of players love playing for their club, but going to these tournaments, they tend to just maybe put it into overdrive. Jota should not be doing it. I just don't want to see him get any sort of serious injury again. He just needs his minutes managed to an extent. I understand that the Portugal boss isn't going to really care about his club, or he's just going to be like, well, I've got you here, I want to get the most out of you. Just needs to be careful, because it's like Canate. He's another one who I just don't want to see him go down with an injury which is going to carry over into next season. They've got other options, so there's not necessarily a necessity to force the issue.
Not just into next season as well, just to pick up on that, like pre-season, because as we've already alluded to, like this is a pre-season under a new manager. This is absolutely huge, and all of them, whether you want the more established members in the side or not, are going to want to be in front of the new manager on day one of pre-season. Might not be possible in certain cases, but as close to as you can. So you're right. They're not going to want to come back to Liverpool and be on a treatment table and missing out on 2-3 weeks of what might be a new system, a new style, whatever.
Because it will hold you up more than 2 to 3 weeks. It can hold you up 2 to 3 months, because you've missed that intensive training, haven't you? That will carry you through. We're going to do predictions then. Chloe, winners of the tournament.
France.
Likewise.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got France/Italy. I think Italy could do something.
Really?
I love Italy in major tournaments. I love Italy in major tournaments, and the Italian teams have been doing really well in Europe again.
Germany,
they've got good players.
Outside one.
Yeah, they've sort of turned the form around. Well, as hosts, you should be up there.
But they've got good players, to be fair to them.
I mean, Florian Wirtz is my
Musiala, Florian Wirtz. They've obviously still got Tony Cruz. Their centre-halves are decent. They'll have Neuer. I look at their front line and just think it's...
Kai Havertz up top.
Yeah, Kai Havertz. Obviously, they'll have Sané, I assume, if he's fit. But their front line is just a little bit, like, I don't put it up there with England's or France, but their defence I really do like.
Okay, top goal scorer, I've gone for Harry Kane because of the penalties that he'll receive.
That's true, yeah.
I've gone Mbappe. Do I need to say any more than that?
Yeah, I think I went for Mbappe as well. I
think I went for, like, Phil Foden. Don't know why.
Interesting. Is he taking the pens? That's all England score, isn't it? It's just penalties. Like Harry Kane's
set
got
pieces, corners, and penalties.
90 goals for England and 87 penalties.
The odd
or something.
Who knows? Free kick,
best player of the tournament, I have gone for Mbappe this time.
Yeah, I've gone Bellingham.
Ooh, yeah, I said Mbappe as well.
Mbappe as well. Shock exit, I've gone for no, although I will caveat this with I think it comes from, if there is going to be one, it's the Spain, Croatia, Italy, Albania group.
Yeah. Okay.
That is the one where Croatia have done something, but the top two go out of the group, I'm right in saying, and then there's still the chance for thirds to come out anyway.
Yeah.
So I just think there might not be a shock exit. Has anyone got a shock exit?
I think there's a few, personally.
Go on.
I said Spain,
I think there's quite a few. I think Italy actually falls that category for me. Belgium as well, because I think their golden generation is just about fading now. Although there's some, Doku and still some stars in Bakayoko as well. And I actually had Portugal in that midst as well, just because I looked at the groups before for the first time really properly and thought there's a little bit of trepidation involved in almost all of them. And as much as I've just sat here and said that Germany looked good, that group is so difficult, that Germany group, that one poor result, one draw that you didn't need suddenly makes life very, very tricky. And albeit Nagelsmann's turned their form around heading into this competition a little bit, we're only 6-8 months removed from Germany being in real strife ahead of this one. So yeah, there's possibilities there.
Okay, Group C looks pretty hard to me. Slovenia, Denmark, Serbia, England. Is there going to be a shock exit from that group?
No.
You don't think so?
I mean, Serbia could possibly have something to say about it. They're an okay team. Denmark,
it's not 1992.
What was I say?
It's not 1992.
No,
they won it in 92. So that's why.
Denmark,
and they weren't even in it at that point. They didn't qualify.
No, they were hosts.
Yeah. No, they didn't even host. Another team got kicked out.
Is that what it was?
Yeah, it'll come to me at some point. Yeah, somebody else got kicked out and they got.
That was
brought
Peter
back in.
Schmeichel was in goal for that one. I
Yeah, they got
remember
brought
that,
back into it on like the eve of the tournament and won it.
Oh, right. I didn't know that. I thought they were hosts. That's why they were in there. Fair enough. As 10-year-old Chris, you stand corrected. And, okay, so you've got Italy, Holland, Belgium, Portugal for your shock exits.
Spain are up there for me.
Spain.
I look at their squad and I just don't think it's that
Young
good.
squad is what it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a very young squad.
I'm trying to see if I can find their group now.
Saying that, I mean,
I think
Spain,
they've-
Croatia, Italy,
Midfield.
Albania. Yeah, it's a tough group, isn't it? Apart from Albania. The other three will be fighting out. Croatia always do well at international tournaments, don't
Yeah.
they? They're just good.
So-
Modric is playing for them as well, isn't
Yeah.
he? Is it Croatia Modric plays for?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's Croatian.
Yeah, so he'll have something to say
That's
about
been
what
an
they do.
aging side now for about a
20
decade.
years.
So I don't
Talk about the golden generations being past it. Like,
Wow.
And they managed to reach like a final and a semi-final. Like that's
You always punch above the weight.
Yeah.
Give them the credit
they
for
play
that.
well
like, yeah,
as a
yeah,
unit, and they
yeah.
always have done, and that's the difference, isn't it? With international teams, like they
always
seem
get
to be
on pens.
fighting for the same thing.
Some of the
Yeah.
parts stuff, like absolutely.
Okay, there you go then. That has been the podcast for this week. Hopefully there'll be more Liverpool news next week and we can do a little bit more. Hopefully no Liverpool players get injured. Big thank you to Chloe, to Dan and to Lewis for joining us for this one. We're going to be off doing the Biased Football podcast on Redmen Plus. Yes, the Biased Transfer podcast. We're not talking about transfers. We are talking very much about Manchester City and their case against the Premier League. So come over and join us on redmenplus.com.